run a 7-figure service-based business, and today I'm going to show you 3 lead generation strategies that helped me to make $1 million last year. This is the exact video that I wish I had before I got started. I'm not going to hold anything back. Let's get started. Okay, so lead strategy number 1, and that is YouTube. So last year, YouTube was about 31.78% of my leads. And I find that leads come to our business in one of 2 ways. One, we recently got a client and they were working with somebody on Fiverr and they weren't happy with the landing page. They were literally on YouTube, like YouTubing, Googling like how to do landing pages, better landing pages, and my video came up. And he's like, oh, I've got to send this video to the guy working on my landing pages. But then he saw in the description that my agency takes care of this for people. He booked in a call and he was closed in like 3 days, right? The other way that we get leads from YouTube is it's more of a slow burn. People find us and then they watch a lot of videos because they're quite skeptical, right? Or they're not ready to go ahead with an agency yet. So they've spent a lot of hours with me, not one-to-one where I've had to do it, but where I've created videos that are like an asset for leverage. And it delivers you really educated, pre-qualified, predetermined leads that they already want to work with you. So when I'm having these sales calls, people are relaying back how I say things like about offers and landing pages and funnels. My job is just to figure out, am I a good fit to take them to where they want to go and scale their business? The second positive of YouTube for a lead generation channel is that it builds you as the authority, right? And it helps you to stand out. For me, I run a digital marketing agency. There are about 48,000 digital marketing agencies just in the USA and hundreds of thousands of freelancers, right? And so I believe in marketing, you're either a commodity or you are an authority, and there's no in between. And if you are a commodity, then you are fighting for scraps, you're competing on price, and you are not attracting the ideal clients. Whereas when you're delivering value first into the market, you're becoming that a trusted advisor where they go to learn things, and positioning yourself as that authority and doing that authority marketing. Yes, you get leads, cool, but you get qualified leads. Number 3, as a side benefit, is you get better at communicating your message from all the sets and reps of talking. And I really learned this because I became a manager at 23 at a company called King Kong. And because I was spending so much time teaching people, and you have to figure out how to connect the dots and how to make people have an epiphany or an aha, or to just get your intelligence out so people actually understand it. I've always realized that the best way to get really good at what you do is teaching people. Now I'm seeing that on steroids by doing YouTube, because I have to try and figure out how to articulate what I do. And because I've been doing funnels for 10 years, you find that you get the curse of knowledge, which means that I get really excited about the nerdy stuff in direct, because I love direct response and I love funnels, but my market doesn't give a shit about that. They've got a conversation going on in their mind, and I sometimes want to talk about these really advanced direct response psychological persuasion tricks and hacks, but at the end of the day, my market has problems in their mind. And so from doing the YouTube videos and then getting leads and sales, I've found that a really good side benefit is from always talking and explaining things on YouTube, I've been able to carry that into the sales process and the lead process as well. So the other positive of YouTube is that it has created more opportunities for the business. So as an example, I spoke at another event, I'm going to talk about that soon. And then John Pentworthy from AdCon saw that talk on YouTube. The day I posted it, it didn't get hundreds of thousands of views, but he just happened to see it. And he was looking for speakers for the event, AdCon, messaged me on Instagram, and then I got another opportunity. So YouTube has brought in lots of leads, but it's also brought in other opportunities which bring in more leads. There are negatives. Let me share that with you. YouTube is great, and I still believe that this is a channel that we are going to be doubling down on, quadrupling down on this year. Content and building community and being able to speak to people and share what we know, that's very, very important to us. But here's what you need to know. It takes time to make content. It takes time I have to think about this video, and I have to script them out, and I have to make sure I write a good hook so people actually stay to the end. I have to learn the platform. I have to learn the algorithm. It takes time for the results to compound. And until you can pay someone, you need to do the thumbnails. You need to do the titles. You have to come up with the ideas. You have to package it. And you have to eat shit at the start when your videos are getting 20 views or 100 views or less, because that happened to me for a really long time. And I just had to reframe it that I knew it was going to take a long time to compound. But also, if I had 20 or 50 people in a room listening to me, that's pretty good. So when you do start, because I hope you do, because you do have something to share with the world, and you're not getting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views, that's okay. Just think that's 100 people that didn't know about you before. And the only way to get better is to practice, is to get the sets and reps. So you just need to start. And it's an asset you're investing in, right? It's not a short-term play, it's a long-term play. I'm going to teach you a little bit more how to think about that from a lead generation strategy at the end of the video. So the second lead generation strategy channel for us was podcasts and events. That accounted for about 35.66% of my leads last year. But this was not from my own events or my own podcast. When we first started, we knew that starting our own podcast or doing our own events, we didn't have an audience yet. We didn't have a big enough following or community. So that didn't make sense. So we thought, okay, well, how can we tap into somebody else's audience, somebody else's community that they've already spent the time, the money, and the energy to build? So even since our first year, I have gone on quite a lot of podcasts and events, etc., which has been really, really good at generating leads. Not always consistent, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. In this year, 2024, this has been a very successful year in the podcasts and the events. It all started in January. So I did a keynote at Traffic and Conversion Summit in Vegas. It was really cool to do that event. I'll show some pictures of me on the screen. And from that event, we got a shitload of clients, which was also cool. But from that event, or being part of that event, then Michael Stelzner's team saw that I was doing that event. They invited me on his podcast, The Social Media Examiner. Also at that event, I met Ralph Burns from Tier 11, who runs Perpetual Traffic, which is an amazing podcast. Wowee, it blew up our business in January and February. And we probably got 7 to 10 clients just from that. It was crazy. And at that time, it was really just me and my co-founder. We're like, shit, okay, we're doing this. The agency is scaling. So we started bringing in talent and we started bringing in all of these clients and building our systems. And pretty much all of these clients still, which is awesome. And just going back to opportunities create opportunities, right? And so with these things, what we've always been very acutely aware of is that businesses tend to fail because they die of obscurity, because nobody knows who you are. They don't know that you exist. So our goal, and my goal as a CEO, is to get us as much attention as possible, to get in front of the right people as much as possible. Here's the positives. You tap into the audiences of other people. They've already spent the time, the money, and the energy to create those audiences for you, right? And instead of building from scratch, you can just get a lot of momentum straight away, like a jump start. And if you get on the right one, you'll get leads. As people listening to that are looking for answers. And I've found that additionally to YouTube, leads that come from podcasts and events are super hot and super ready because of that authority marketing that you've built. The other benefit is you can repurpose the content into shorts, onto your YouTube channel. But of course, because we're keeping it real, there are negatives. Number one, it can be time consuming, right? It's always an investment, using your time and your energy and your focus. You're investing it somewhere. And of course, it can be scary at first. If you go back and watch some of my podcasts or even my first event that I did at Traffic and Conversions, I'm not perfect, but I am not born with the ability to be a perfect public speaker or to be the best on podcasts. And the only way I can get better is by doing it, getting the feedback loop, and then starting again. And you'll probably see this as a common theme throughout some of these lead channels is just get started. Just get started and be shit, because you're not as shit as you are, and you're going to start getting traction very early on, but you still have to be in it for the long run. So how did I do it? How can you replicate this success? Well, to be honest, podcast and events, I've done it all through network and relationships. So it is a bit about who do you know and what value are you putting out there into the world, right? Now, the other way that you can do this is you can pay to get access to these things. So when I talk at some events, some of the other speakers are sponsors of the events, which means that they get a talking slot at the event. You can pay to go on podcasts, which is really interesting because 2 years ago when I was sort of started doing podcasts, there wasn't as many that were like, you have to pay to come on. And now like everyone's using podcasts as like this thing to make money. So you can pay to go on some of these, or you can pay a podcast booking agent, which is probably what I will look to do. But what I've really found and from my friends in the industry, they do just say that a lot of these come from your network and who you know and building relationships as well. Additionally, in terms of what's next for us for this podcast and events, we're going to be starting our own podcast this year called Operation Freedom. And that's something that's really important to us because we travel the world while we're building our business. We build a business to create the life that we want. We don't match our life to the business that we build, right? And so we want to create this podcast where it's about myself and my co-founder just talking more about how we do business, because I found it really hard to find conversations of people like starting their business and building in public and sharing these things. That'll be launching by the end of this year. And for us, that'll be a great way to build our network and meet new people and to solidify friendships and to just provide more value and impact into the community as well. Okay, so we had YouTube, we had podcast and events, and now the third lead generation strategy or channel that helped us to do 1 million last year or contributed to 1 million was LinkedIn. So LinkedIn did about 19.4% of the leads we got this year. Let me tell you though, the interesting way that leads and clients come through LinkedIn. So here's a story. This is the story that we got, how we got one of our biggest clients that we've got in our portfolio. I just want you to understand how this works, because people who buy on LinkedIn or people who are going to be like clients, they don't interact with your stuff. So there was a marketing manager whom I may or may not have added myself or added me, I don't know, but we were connected on LinkedIn, and he had been seeing all of my content on LinkedIn because I just keep showing up and posting every day, trying to provide as much value as humanly possible. That company got into a boardroom and said, we need an agency who can help us to scale from there about 8 figures and to like the next level, who is going to be the right fit. And this person who had never engaged with any of my content, I didn't know who he was, said, I follow somebody on LinkedIn called Alicia, we should have a call with her and her agency. And then we brought them on, it would have been within the same week. So that's one story of how we get leads from LinkedIn. Another, which I think is cool, is another client that we got pretty early on. And the way that we got this client was that she was at an event overseas. I've never met her. She met a person that she had never met. She said in a conversation, I need help with funnels and landing pages. He said, and I don't know this person, and he has never engaged with my content. I follow this woman on LinkedIn. She talks about Facebook and leads and landing pages and funnels. You should chat with her. So then she booked in a time with me and became a client. That is the power of LinkedIn. And now LinkedIn, I believe, is getting a lot more competitive. I think that there's more people posting, which means that there's less impressions or less eyeballs on the platform. It's getting harder though if you don't improve your content, right? It's just a game. And now there's more competitors who are more highly skilled. You just have to elevate and get better. So the game's just shifted. We have to shift our content and make better content. The content that is performing the best at the moment is this that I'm showing up on screen. So video. I believe, and I'm in some groups with people who talk about LinkedIn, that LinkedIn is making a play for video. On some people's feeds now, they're showing like, the shorts that they have in Reels and they have in TikTok. So I believe that they are pushing video more because obviously video keeps people on the platform more. Additionally, posts that I have seen from my data that get more engagement, like spoiler alert, probably indicate to the algorithm that it's a higher quality video. So this kind of post, it's a Loom video. You have something like interesting or complex on the screen. The copy is a big hook, right? A big outcome. And then you say, hey, like you give value in the video and you say, hey, if you want this full training, comment training, and I'll send it through to you. Those are the sorts of posts at the moment that I'm seeing getting the best traction. When it comes to creating your LinkedIn content strategy, you have to be really careful about just doing this because there's plenty of people on the platform with hundreds of thousands of followers who are broke and are not making any money. I know it's because they fall into the trap, and it's a trap I fall into before, of optimizing for the ego. So it's very easy to see these numbers and think, wow, and even my numbers are not as big as other people's, but I get leads and I make money from LinkedIn, and that's the difference, right? Basically, for content in general, the main thing that we make sure we do is the power of demonstration. So we want to just be showing only what we do, right? Because if I started coming on here and talking about, some random stuff in business that I have no idea about, it's not going to resonate. But it's a lot more powerful if I'm on YouTube, at podcasts and events, and on LinkedIn, talking about what I do, showing and using that power of demonstration. It's much more effective. So whenever you do your content, that's what you want to be doing, right? Don't just talk about fluffy stuff or repost quotes. Yeah, you're going to get a bunch of likes, maybe you'll get followers, but you'll build the wrong sort of audience. So LinkedIn is good. It gets us leads. It's getting more competitive. Just make your content better. Don't optimize for the ego. But now with LinkedIn, because of the power of our YouTube channel, we are just trying to push as many people from LinkedIn onto YouTube as possible, because that is going to be where we build a much better relationship, and less people do video. So you build more authority, you can build a better relationship than just with text posts. So that's the positives. There are negatives. And one of those negatives is that LinkedIn is a really weird platform. And like I said before, when we first started, it was a lot easier to get traction. We were getting leads from LinkedIn. We still do, but there's a lot more noise on the platform. You need to figure out what works for you, and you need to make sure that you don't optimize for the ego. Another negative that I'm very sure that I have fallen into, and I'm very sure a lot of other people have, you can get a little bit distracted and spend too much time on the platform. I don't want to know how many times I've opened LinkedIn in one day, or what's my PB, right? And now I just set time in my day. It's 30 minutes. That's when I check the socials. That's when I reply to things. But you can definitely do that productive procrastination, right? Where you just are on the platform not doing anything to actually help your business make money. Post the content, engage a bit, leave it alone. The other thing with content, which I'm about to start talking about, is that it can be unpredictable and inconsistent, right? Especially when you're starting. It's very time consuming to create content and to learn the platform. So there's two things that I want to talk to you about that I've learned from these 3 lead channels that I wish I knew before starting. Number 1, the sphere of influence. None of this is a very clear path. Someone watches a YouTube video and then they book in with me, then they buy. It's not a linear funnel like that. What you're creating is a sphere of influence. This is your authority marketing. This is your digital footprint online. And all of these numbers, like I was saying earlier, these are not final attribution, right? They all assist each other. So what I actually find is that somebody finds me on LinkedIn, they go and watch a bunch of YouTube, they go and look at my website, they read my case studies, they Google my name, they'll go back to my LinkedIn, they'll read the reviews on my LinkedIn. So these other things include things like your website, your personal brand, your case studies, your network, word of mouth and referrals. This all pours into this, right? When it comes to your lead generation channels, there are 3 pools you can think about. Well, this is how I think about it. You've got inbound, you've got outbound, and you've got network and strategic partnerships. So everything that I've just shown you now is inbound. We've done cold email before and got very good results, which is a form of outbound. And we get word of mouth and referral, which is kind of that strategic partnerships play. But all of this plays together, and you want to have a diversified channel strategy. But where do you focus first? The goal is not LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook ads or cold. The goal is to have a diversified channel strategy. But where do you start? So the way that I think about it is that you can have lead generation channels that are to harvest leads for now versus plant seeds for later. What does that mean? Harvesting for now is scooping up the people who are down the other end of the buyer's journey, down the end of the stages of awareness where they're ready to buy from you, right? Because people go through these stages of awareness, whether you hold their hand or not. And I want to have my lead generation channel strategies to scoop them up from unaware or problem aware up here, all the way down to solution aware and most aware. But you don't want to be short-sighted and not be building that pipeline of people. So planting seeds for later, what I see is with YouTube and some of those seeds sprout and I can harvest them now quickly in a week or in a few weeks or in a few months. Things like even Facebook ads, that's more harvesting for now. Google ads, that's more harvesting for now. Cold outbound, that's more harvesting for now. You're trying to find people who are ready now. Planting the seeds, I kind of think of that more as like my content strategy, my network, my relationships, and building some of these other assets. So here's what's next for the business and where I'm focusing. When it comes to predictability in your business for leads and sales, there's two channels basically that you can do. Ads, cold outbound, because you can predict the numbers. You know the inputs, you know the outputs, you know the outcomes. I know that if I spend X amount of money on Facebook, then I'm going to get X amount of leads and I'm going to get X amount of revenue. And it's the same for cold. They have different numbers, but you can predict them. So what we're going to be focusing on is we've recently launched our Meta ads funnel, our Facebook ads VSL funnel. We're testing a lot of that at the moment, and that will start working and that will be bringing us in leads, and it will become another piece of the puzzle in our sphere of influence. And the other thing we're going to be focusing on is having a really strategic approach to our referrals and like our strategic partnerships, our referral partners. A lot of businesses brag that they have built their whole business off of word of mouth and referrals, which is awesome because it means that your service is good. But when you ask them, what is your strategy, sir? They do not have a strategy. They leave it all to chance. And that's not what I'm going to do in my business. So we're going to be focusing on that and really owning that as a channel as well. So team, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you do need help creating your lead generation strategy, check out this next video where I go through the 5 steps of how I think about it and how I help my clients or any of my friends to actually figure out how to create a lead generation strategy. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you on the next one.